Enrique Peñalosa, who is the mayor of Bogota, he says, in a democracy, you can measure the depth of democracy through the width of a footpath. A footpath is where everybody is equal, whether you are a millionaire or you're just a person on the street. Okay? And that is public space for everybody. A street, if you talk about a city street is not just a place where cars or vehicles run, not a place where you go from point A to point B. A street is where you experience a city. It's a public space through which you experience a city. Pretty much everybody, anybody, tourists, locals alike. Yeah? So there are a lot of things that normally happen on a street. Okay, you go meet a friend on a street. There's little, people doing businesses on the street. So that is how streets should be designed for people, for their activities. Now, of course, if you have a bike lane, right, bicycle lane, that's telling the people that a person with a $30,000 car is equal to a person with a $3,000, $300 bicycle or something. Yeah? So that equality is important in society. So the environmental problem is one aspect, but it's the social problem that generates, where you're dividing the society into the haves and have-not, the rich and the poor, and we're making a city for the rich, and the poor just start to fall out of the sidelines. There was no highways connecting Kathmandu then, no flights and so on. It's a very isolated community, so Kathmandu kind of remained that way. It's also not just political, but social also transformation that happened there. It was a very traditional society, very few people were educated and so on. So after democracy, what happened is a lot of schools started to open, so society also transformed. Once the first highway connected Kathmandu, right, then a lot of people coming in, goods, services coming in. So this was, 50s, 60s really. Now 60s, what happened was the outsiders discovered Kathmandu, right? That was the hippie age, and Kathmandu was the heaven for hippies who came from the West. They found this town in the Shangri-La kind of place where you could buy marijuana on the streets. So that's when 60s, 70s kind of tourism started. So I think that change that happened rapidly in Nepal, okay, and it happens rapidly because it's just past 50, 60 years that Kathmandu has started to really change. The first highway that connected Kathmandu to the Tarai came 60 years ago or so, 67, 65 years ago. And that's when rapid urbanization started. So this change process we haven't been able to manage properly. Well, the air quality situation in Nepal, in the city of Kathmandu or the other cities are bad. The main source right now is transportation. The technical aspect is, yes, a lot of the vehicles are old and polluting, okay, and also probably not well maintained. So the vehicle is one part of it. Yeah? The second part is in the transportation system is the system as a whole. For example, the public transportation system is really inefficient in a way. Yeah? So as a result, what we see is it's a big increase in number of private vehicles. In fact, the vehicles in this country, number of vehicles, increasing at around 14% a year, which is about 3 times the increase of population increase. Now, of course, what we see is that the road dust is visually more of a problem, but then if you look at the smoke, it's more of a problem from a health perspective because the smoke have very much finer particles, and also they have more toxic particles. Yeah? So diesel smoke, for example, we know it's a carcinogen. Yeah? We're not the most polluted city in the world, but we're right up there in the top 10%. So we are one of the most polluted cities in the world.